Hi guys, this week's going to be another trade review on a day 2 gapper. So whereas stocks gapped up strong on day 1 and on day 2 it's gapping up again. There's quite a lot to unpack on this trade, and because the trade went wrong, I learned some really key information about the right and wrong places to set your profit targets on specific setups. So a bit of a summary of this week. My scan's been really quiet and not much going on from my watch list, but a lot of new themes for me that were coming into play, such as bottom bouncers, so stocks that are sort of under the 20-cent-ish range, making big moves up, and also day 2 gappers, which is the trade that I took and that I'll be analysing today, and also afternoon breakouts. All these things are really new to me, so I definitely felt really overwhelmed thinking, what am I actually looking at? Where do I focus my efforts? Just quite scattered really. But my week ended on a really positive note where I took a paper trade. It was a really good thesis, but I mucked it up by setting the wrong profit targets. But from doing that, I've really learned valuable lessons on where I should be setting my profit targets. So that's what I'm going to get into today. So let's get to the chart. The ticker I'm going to pull up first. This isn't a stock that I traded, but I took the trade because of how this one moved. So the ticker is GV, and I think this is on Wednesday the 5th of March. So on that day, it was probably the biggest runner on that day, I think. I mean, one of the top movers anyway. So it went from, it's just a daily chart over here, 129 all the way up to about £4 there. So it had a really big day 1 move. And it also had this breakout here in the afternoon just before close, where you can see it spiked up into the close. And then if we look at day 2 on the chart, we can see that it opened up at £6. So the day before it closed at 370, and then it's gapping up big again to £6 there. It didn't close there, but that's where it opened. So if I go to day 2, this is the pre-market data here, and we can see when it opened on day 2, as I said, opening all the way up from £6, touching 7, and then it did this big pullback here. And so this is on the Thursday, the 6th of March. And what my tutor said in the morning is he said, with these day 2 gappers, you want to look for, if you are going to look for an entry, you're going to be looking for if it pulls all the way back to yesterday's high of day, or potentially even yesterday's close, but in this instance it was high of day, which was about that 398 mark. So I was kind of watching it just to see how that played out, and actually it did pull all the way back, and it had a really nice push off yesterday's close, which was yesterday's close was about 399-ish. So I think the idea is that once it goes, and if it breaks that risk, shorts are going to start to come in, because it's sort of getting towards turning to, rather than being up green on the day, it's then going to turn to being red on the day, and that's when shorts will come in and say, okay, this stock's going to go down. So so it came down, it pushed off yesterday's high of day, and then it continued to grind up for the rest of the day. So it went from around about 404, and from that point pushed up to 524 as this high after that point. So that was on the Thursday. I'm going to go to this stock now, which is a stock I traded, PSTV. So this stock was a big runner, if not the biggest runner again, on Thursday the 6th of March. So the day after GV had its big day 1, PSTV had a big day 1. So yeah, go into the 1-minute chart of PSTV on its big day 1. You can see it kind of followed the same pattern, because it had a really strong day 1, but also had this big sort of breakout towards close, just like GB did as well. So it was setting up to be potentially a similar pattern. Now on day 2 of the move, pre-market, you can see again pre-market that is gapping up, and as we can see, it opened up here from at £2 from closing the day before at about 144. So it's doing exactly what GB did and having a gap up day 2. So for me, I was thinking I could potentially trade this the same way, and if this has a big pullback to yesterday's high of day, which was on the daily chart 154, then it could very well bounce off that, and I could play it for a bounce. And I don't work on Fridays, so I had a nice amount of time to actually look at this and actually take the trade properly. So I'd set my risk here at yesterday's high of day, and I put my profit marks, and this is where I went wrong. Here, so 184, so this is where it had a bit of consolidation from, earlier that day before I entered the trade, and also pre-market support level, which I thought could potentially act as resistance. So that was my first profit mark, and second profit mark was where there was some support and then some resistance pre-market, and it's $2, so quite a significant level, so probably try and get out just before that, and then the high of day. Now looking back at this, I'm actually kicking myself, because if we go back to GB, it opened up here, but it didn't close up by its high of days. It closed way down from where it opened. So why on earth I thought PSTV was gonna, open here and then come back down and then close up there? I've no idea. It was just a really lack of thought and analysis there. So that I should have known better on that for sure. So yeah, I do feel a bit silly that for that, because GB didn't do that, and that was the whole basis of my trade, was that this is mirroring what GB is doing, so I didn't make that connection. But anyway, I entered the trade. I wanted to enter somewhere down here close to my risk. I saw it push off nicely close to my risk and had this big sort of green candle here. Bit of volume came in, and I got in around here at 163. It then went up a bit, came back down, did a nice double bottom off my risk, so even more conviction that this is a really good support level. It then went up to my first profit mark, which was great. I was thinking, okay, this is working out well. Took off, I think, about 1/6 of my position. Should have taken off way more, but that's what I did, because I was thinking it's going to go here. And then it came back down and actually broke my risk, and I got stopped out. So it broke it so slightly as well, so that was annoying. But when I saw it reclaim that risk, I actually re-entered it, and then as you can see, it just broke my risk and I got completely stopped out and I ended up taking a loss. This was a paper trade, by the way, if I haven't said that already. So after this trade, my brother, who's a day trader, went and looked at my trade and could give me a bit of feedback on it. And what he said was, if I go back to GB, which is the whole basis for taking my trade, I have to consider the percentage that it bounced off. So its low of day was around 405, went up to 524-ish. So that bounce from there to there is about a 30% move. And that's really key. I should have been taking that into consideration, that on PSTV, I should be looking for something similar. So my first profit mark was good. That was a 20% move. And if I'd been thinking of it in percentage terms and comparing it to GV, I should have realised that GV bounced 30%, my first profit mark is 20%, that's probably the meat of the move right there. I'm not going to expect to get exactly 30%, but if I can get 20%, then yeah, you just take the single and that's the trade done. And also, this is a day 2 move, so day 1s, these profit marks are probably much more valid, and how I've seen them working out more like this at these profit-taking positions. But on a day 2, they're not going to be doing that in general, unless the market's on fire, and that's the general theme at the moment, is that day 2s are really spiking like to the back up to here or even further. But that's not in play at the moment, and it's a day 2 move, so you've got to be more cautious, and I should just be looking for a bounce. A 20% bounce is amazing. So yeah, I was when he pointed that out, I was kind of like really frustrated at myself, because it would have been a really good trade, really good, but at the same time, I wouldn't have known that if this hadn't have gone wrong. How the hell would I have known about the percentage thing unless he could point it out for me? So that's really valuable. So I changed from being like a bit frustrated to actually buzzing, because I was like, okay, this is really key information. Like, if I'd known that and I take this trade next time, I'll be looking more in terms of percentage and for like a smaller move, not back up to high of day. So yeah, I have to look at taking these day 2 moves much more conservatively, and taking a single at 20%, especially if the whole basis of my trade is because another stock bounced 30%, and I'm looking to mirror that. So I should not have been looking for it to go up there, because that's not what GB did, and it's a day 2 move, so chances are it's not going to do that. So yeah, I probably rambled on a bit there, but I think there's quite a lot to analyse there, and really, really good information about percentage profit taking marks, especially on a day 2 move. So yeah, so if I'd have known that, it would have been a really nice trade for me. But massive advantage being able to have a family member that can look at my trades. At the moment, I feel like I'm getting half the idea and coming close to nailing some trades with some good theses, but they're not yet materialising because I'm still just so inexperienced. But I feel like I'm learning really quickly, and it's all part of the process. So thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys next week.